Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name's Glenn Southern and I'm the Aroid artist. And this big thing in front of me, which fills up too much of the frame, is the Philodendron melanochrysum. And it's one of the very, very popular velvety leaved philodendrons. So this week we're going to take a look at it, learn a little bit about it, look at mine, and then we will cut it up for propagation. So the melanochrysum is a very popular philodendron. It's got large velvety leaves that can be like 15 to 30 centimeters isn't uncommon. A lot of mine on this one, which is probably a few years old now, they reach up to about 25 centimeters, and there's 9 leaves on this one. So I've gone through the first 3 were, or there's 9. Let me just see. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, there's 8 leaves on this one, going into its 9th. So I got it with 3 on it, and there's quite a few examples. If I just turn it round, and hopefully you can see some of the things that I'm talking about. So here, there's quite a bit of damage on some of the leaves, and you'll find, I find a lot of melanochrysums online, or people that are selling them, have got them with quite bad burn on the edge of the leaf, or they've got holes in the leaf, and when they've just not been looked after very well, or they've travelled for for selling, then there's quite a few examples of leaf damage. Now it's really nice when you've grown one yourself and you just get it to just have these lovely smooth leaves without any of the damage. So it's worth taking your time when you're working with a philodendron. And when you propagate, it's nice to go to a wet stick and bring it back to a leaf from nothing yourself, and that means that you know how it's being kept, what the humidity is, or the best kind of humidity, and how wet to keep it. So we'll cover some of that in the care tips at the end. So first of all, I want to just quickly look at what I've done with these pods here. Now, these, you might be able to see if I turn it round, these here are what's called air layering pods. Now I 3D print them. I'm going to take this one off, and there's 2 examples here. There's this one at the bottom, and this one is, it's not a pod, this is just shrink wrap, and with sphagnum moss inside it. And this one at the top that I've just opened is this pod. And I'll show you this in close up. And this pod is just a 3D printed pod, and it's got the 2 halves filled with sphagnum. And what that means is wherever there's a node on the plant, you can force it to start making roots, because it thinks that if it's in the dark and it's moist and it's warm, the aerial roots around the node start producing roots. So that's a way, it's a very, very common way to do it. Now normally just the shrink wrap like this would do it, but it's nice to have something like these pods which really fully encompasses the whole stem as you're working. Now we've done that on quite a few areas up and down this melanochrysum, so we're ready to propagate it now. Now there aren't, there aren't really long roots coming out of them, but there are at least little nodules which become aerial roots, which become roots. So there's lots and lots of places up and down this plant where I'm pretty confident that it will root when we do it. So what we'll do, without further ado, we'll go straight into looking at where we're going to do the cut. We'll do a close-up camera, and then we're going to make those cuts, and then we'll start talking about how we do actually do the propagating. So let's work down where we're going to cut. So from the top, we've got 2 leaves at the top, and then we've got our first node here, and it's only just getting some roots. It's literally just showing these aerial roots as growth. So I'm going to cut it there, which will give us our first one. That'll give us 2 top leaves and the 9th one coming out, or just starting to come out. Then I'm going to go down one here, and I'm going to go and take it from this one here, which has got quite not huge long roots, but they are all at least sprouting. And then so we'll cut that one just below that one, so that will give us this 1 leaf here, and that'll be that 1 node and that 1 leaf. And then we're going to go down 1 more, and we're going to cut here where there isn't much growth. I didn't actually air layer this because I wanted to try an area without it. So that will give me one with 2 leaves here, these 2 together. And then we'll get down to where the plant came to me. So this is the one with a bit of damage on it. So I'm going to do one cut here where there is no, again there's aerial roots, but there's not much to go with. And that'll leave the mother, or the remaining, I can't really call it a mother when it's just two, and that'll just have the two last leaves there. So that will be, probably need a repot because it'll be in a huge pot, and we probably won't want that. So that will give us one with two leaves on it, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That will give us 6 melanochrysums altogether. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight ahead and cut them. I'll leave the camera and the audio running so you'll hear me and see me do it on this camera in my hand. And then once we've cut them, we'll lay them all out and we'll have a look at them one by one. So, first one that we want. So I want to cut this top one here. So I want to cut this right underneath this, about here. So that it's getting the node in and we'll get the two top ones. So I'm going to be careful because I'm going to snip it, but I'm going to hold it with my fingers because I'm doing this all with one hand. That fell a little bit further than I wanted it to. So that gives us the first one, which is going to be 1, 2, and then the node. So that one's quite a success. So I'm quite happy with that one. We'll lay that one down so we don't damage it. Now that leaves that top with one leaf, so we might snip that off. Now it's actually got a string on it, so we should be able to get in there and snip quite easily. I'll come round to this other side for this one. Should be able to see that there quite easily. And I'll bring that one in, and we'll get the scissors on it, right on it there. Just be careful not to cut the leaf. Be right in there. And we'll snip that one now. So that one has given us this lovely little leaf and quite a bit of roots on that one. So that one's quite delicious. That'll be a lovely one, and we'll have a look at those. That's 2 of them. We'll go down to the next one, which there's not many on this, so there's not much to go on with this one. So this is one we're going to have to be a little bit careful with. So again, we'll come round to this side for this one, and we'll snip that. It's going to fall actually. Just bring it round. We're going to go in again under here and snip that there. I'm going to hold it as it snips, this one. So there we go. And that one, so there's again not so much activity going on here, but there are obviously signs of where it, it wants to try. And then that's got 2 leaves, so that one looks quite nice. There's a bit of damage on that leaf, so it's not going to be the nicest looking one, but that gives us 3. Now we're getting down to the bottom now, so this pole can actually go. So we'll bring this out of the way, get rid of this. It's a bit more manageable now, so we're in a position now where we've only got a few left. We've got the ones that we've put down. So we've just got to do one more cut under here, and then we've got the last 2 left on the plant. So we'll go back in and cut this one. So this one's got a little bit of an aerial root. Now it's dried out a little bit. If you can see here, I'll go right close in with this one. You can see it's got a root that's dried, but I'll bring that back no problem. I don't really think that will be an issue for us. So we'll just go in nice and tight with that one, and then 3, 2, 1 cut, and that one's dropped nicely. And that leaves us with just this, these last 2 here. So it's it's not leaving us with a huge plant, but it's given us enough to that will come back actually really quickly, because there's a good root system in here. I'm not in any way worried about that one becoming the mother plant again. So let's just recap on those then. So we've got 7. We've got the double. You can see that on the camera. We've got single. And what we will do is we're going to take that down. In fact, we'll do that now while we're on camera. We'll take that down quite significantly. and that'll mean that it's a lot shorter now. We don't need these. You can't do anything with these, so there's no nodes on them. There's nothing that will give you any of the magic of the rooting, you know, from just a stem bit. We've got this one, which is one of the big ones. It's got damage on the bottom, but again, this one will be nice, and I might as well just do the snip a bit closer in there. We don't want it too long there. And there's plenty of, you can see, plenty of root growth there, although it has dried a bit with all of this filming. Same with this one. We can snip this one away. So this was just a bit too long again. I love that crunch, so that's that gone. That's another one. Leave that over here. And line them all up down here at the bottom while we let them callus over, because it's going to take about half an hour to an hour to let them callus before we then dive in and do the potting, which we'll be doing next. But there you go, that's them all cut and the mother left over here. So next then, what we're going to pot them in. So I've decided with these we're going to do it all in sphagnum with a little bit of bark mixed in. I always put a little bit of leca in at the bottom, and that allows any water that's in there to seep down into the bottom, into the stones or into the leca, the clay, and then the sphagnum and the bark mix above that. And then we'll shrink wrap them up and we'll leave them for a few weeks and see how they get on. So let's get on to doing that right now. Okay, so the next bit is super easy. So I usually take something like this, either a half pint or a pint plastic cup. I don't have holes in them. And I put in a certain amount of leca, so about an inch of leca, which is obviously expanded clay, which you can see, like this. And the reason I do that is because when I'm using sphagnum, I want something at the bottom to allow it to drain if it needs to, but it will seep back up as well. So it's a bit of an insurance policy to make sure things don't get too damp. So I've got 6 of those ready. And then the mix that I'm going to use for the melanochrysum is, normally it's just sphagnum. So a sphagnum like this, so it's lightweight, greeny brown, very moist, very good quality. Smells properly peaty, so it's obviously healthy and it doesn't smell of damp or anything like that. And it's got little bits of wood chips that I've mixed in it. And what I also do is I mix in a lot of, I'll give you an example here. I don't mix a lot in at this early stage, but I mix in a bit of bark and a little bit of compost. As you can see, I'll add a handful of this to each one. So I generally just take this, like so, add one in, mix that top one in a little bit, and then that becomes the first one, and then I do that over and over again for each cup. So let's do one and you'll see exactly what I mean. So I'm going to take the cup. So first job is to take the cup, take the cutting. So we'll take this first one here, and we know this one's already got a bit of root there. I've just broken a little bit off as I did it then, but it's fine. It's calloused over a little bit. Could probably do with a little bit more, but we'll get away with it. We'll just take that down. Actually, no, we won't. We'll leave that as it is for now. I was going to take it down a bit more, but it'll have to callus again. And then we're basically going to place it in here, but inside of the mix. So I'll put in, let's bring it over here now. So in the cup, we've got the first bit, which is the mix of leca, or just leca. Then a little bit of a mix of sphagnum and the bark. I just use reptile bark, which is, they call it orchid bark, but it's, you know, it's just clean, healthy bark. I don't use bark for landscaping or outdoor bark. And then I nestle that down in there. Sometimes, depending on how moist the cup is or the sphagnum is, I might just give it a couple of blasts like that if the sphagnum feels very, very dry. And then I'll pack more sphagnum and less of the bark and the mix in one side here, press it over, and then pack it in tightly from the other side like that. So that will hold it quite tightly within the cup. And that's all that I do. Now, I'm going to do that for each of them now, so I'll speed it up, but you'll see me do it for each of them. And what I then do, the one important last thing that I like to do, is I want that moisture and that humidity to remain inside the cup. So I'll always put a cover of, here we go, cellophane around the top before I put it into the cabinet or wherever I'm going to keep it, like so, and just tighten it down so that it stays moist. And I generally don't have to water these, the same as I showed the other week with the philodendron. They generally keep moist enough with the occasional spray maybe, and that'll be fine. And we'll check that in about a week just to see how it's going on, and then we'll probably check it again 4 weeks after that. So what I've done is, hopefully you can see all of these on the camera. So each one is ready for its shrink wrap now, as we showed with the first one. So they'll all get a shrink wrap like that. And we've got this full range of 6 of them and the mother plant now, all ready to go into one of these cabinets behind me. And hopefully we'll show you an update in a couple of weeks.